And we are back. Welcome, Finn folks, to another. I guess I should start calling you the Finn family, my Finn treasure searching family. Welcome to another episode. Let me get situated of the House Husband Diaries. As always, I am your host, Carter C. And today, the theme. We're still on themes. We're going to be on themes. I have like 40 additional themes. I mean, I keep on with themes. I mean, I have themes for, let's see, I do 3 Finn videos a week. Divided by, carry the 1. 13 more weeks. 13 more weeks gets us through. Yeah, till like May. I got themes for days. Themes for days. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe these themes will help. Something in here will spark someone's solve knowledge, add something to their solve, refine it, help. And who knows? Maybe we won't even make it to May. I really believe that the treasure chest will be found in 2020. There are so many people that are getting so dialed in on this. I can't believe that the collective brain power of this crew isn't going to crack it in 2020. There's so much great stuff going. There's starting to be more collaboration. People are starting to say, hey, are we looking in the wrong spots? Have we been in the right spots and we're just not looking in the right way? I think there's a lot of good stuff going out. It's a really, at least from my perspective, a really productive off season, and we'll see where it goes. So, without further ado, today's theme is grave markers, cemeteries, and then I threw in buried. Not buried as in the treasure's buried. If you watched the last video I did, I don't believe the treasure's buried. I just don't see Finn taking the time and going to the effort to bury this chest. I'm not saying it's not covered in some way. I'm just saying it's not in the ground. It's not in the ground. And the definition I use for buried would be he dug a hole and then put the chest in the hole and then covered it back up with the dirt so that it's impossible to see unless you dig in the right spot. Don't believe that's at all. You will never convince me that that's how he did it. That is ridiculous. Flat out. Sorry if I offended you with that, but that's crazy talk. I know I have some crazy ideas, but it's not buried. Okay, grave markers and cemeteries, and then buried is just the way people die, and then we're burying them. Or are we burying them? That'll be the last one mention of sort of the end of life kind of stuff. 6 mentions that I am going to share with you in the thrill of the chase. First one, page 33 in the 11th printing, which is My Spanish Toy Factory. And he talks about, as I mentioned in a previous theme video, old ladies and pies. The old lady at the pie factory who would break the pies so you could get 2 for a nickel or something like that. Let's see. Yeah, 2 for a nickel if they were broken. So, he says, at the bottom, last 2 sentences of that chapter. If I could find, is that what we're doing? If we could find the treasure chest, if I could find where she's buried, I'd slip out there some dark night and push a nickel under her grave marker and just leave it there. Somehow I sense she knows that and is smiling down on me. Now, I'll talk about that. That'll come up in another theme video. But he'd slip out there some dark night. And this isn't the only time he talks about dark nights and graves and cemeteries and buried. Page 41, second mention. Last paragraph of this chapter, surviving myself. Sometimes, when it wasn't too cold, I'd get even with my father for switching me by jumping out of the window, by my bed, and walking down to the cemetery, which was just a block north of our house. It took guts to go in there when it was dark with no moon. I still remember the sense of accomplishment I felt when I sat on some dead guy's grave marker. I wasn't even afraid. No place for the meek. If you were brave in the wood, a kid really has time to think in a graveyard. Whoa. Really? Like, what does that sentence even mean? I mean, graveyards creeped me out when I was a kid. I wouldn't go in there. Like, I didn't live near one, but if I did live near one, I don't think I would have like gone in there and sat on some dude's grave marker. And even if I did, why would you have a sense of accomplishment? I still remember the sense of accomplishment I felt when I sat on some dead guy's grave marker. What? A kid really has time to think in a graveyard. What are you thinking about in a graveyard? If I'm in a graveyard, all I'm thinking about is how creeped out I am, and I really hope that whoever's buried underneath me wasn't buried alive and they're not clawing their way out and gonna grab my ankle when I'm thinking about the stars or something, and I'll piss my pants. Are you kidding me? What the hell could you possibly be thinking about in a graveyard, especially as a kid? I wouldn't go in there now. I'm almost 40 years old. I wouldn't go in a graveyard and just sit on some grave marker and think. There are a lot more beautiful places, a lot more serene, just wonderful places in this world. If you want to think, to just go think. Go have some fun, have some time. If you need to like relax and spend some time with your thoughts to figure out life, I'm not going to a graveyard to go figure out life. That's crazy. I mean, I don't know anyone. Now, I obviously, this is completely conjecture, but I can't imagine like a what do they call them? Like a counselor, like a psychiatrist or a psychologist or something that has people that come to them and listen, whatever, that whole counseling thing. I can't imagine that anybody that is in that business that has people to come and help them work through problems would have an office next to a graveyard or across the street from a graveyard, so that when somebody's sitting down and looking on a couch and looking out a window and trying to find calm and center themselves and tell a story and work through problems, like looking out onto headstones in a graveyard is not the place that you want in your mind to be thinking about that. I know I'm beating this to death, but a sense of accomplishment, sitting on some dead guy's grave marker. I wasn't even afraid. I mean, that's just, I don't know what that means. If that has anything to do with if you're brave and in the wood or, no place for the meek. Maybe. But then it says, a kid really has time to think in a graveyard. I'm going to have to figure out something on that a kid really has time to think in a graveyard. That to me sticks out like a sore thumb, to be cheesy. Let me know what you think on this, because this fascinates me a lot. Okay, third mention. Next page, gypsy magic. Isn't it interesting how these things are mentioned like back to back page? All right. Little grandpa's old cough medicine. Okay. Page 42, third mention of graves, grave markers, cemeteries, etc. If my head was in the window, I could hear the sound and instantly knew what it was. The screen was easy to unlatch, so I jumped to the ground and run as fast as I could through the cemetery and across a wide field toward the firelight. Now, I've already mentioned this in the running across fields and tall grass. I find it really interesting because he runs as fast as he could. Terry Scant with Marvel gaze, just get the heck out of there. He ran through the cemetery and across a wide field toward the firelight, towards the blaze. I mean, I don't know, maybe somebody should do a search on Temple, Texas, who would find his house. Was there a cemetery 1 block north, like he says? And then is there a wide open field? I mean, obviously we're not going to know in 2020 what it looked like in 30 something or 40 something. But was there a field there? I mean, it's probably not anymore. But it'd be interesting if you could find a map that shows that or doesn't show that. If that happens, let me know. Fourth mention, grave markers, cemeteries, buried. Page 57, the long ride home. Skippy died in a scuba diving accident. Any of y'all scuba dive? I have a video on learning how to scuba dive in my mid-30s. Scuba diving is interesting. If the water's not perfectly clear and about 80 degrees or north of 80 degrees, I ain't going scuba diving. It's not fun to be in cold, murky water. Cozumel is a great place to scuba dive. I have scuba dive there. There's a lot of current. Not sure what he was doing 90 feet down with his weights on. I mean, yeah, not real sure what he was doing there. But been down there, scuba dived a number of times down there. It's beautiful, clear water, warm water. Not really sure what kind of accident. There are a bunch of accidents that can happen. So at the end of that page, the end of that chapter, he says, we should have buried him standing up, talking about Skippy. I don't think the chest is buried, like I said. I don't know how this instance of buried, has anything to do with anything, but it's an instance, and I remembered it, I saw it, so I put it in here because it has something to do with grave markers, cemeteries, buried. You decide. My imagination has run dry on this instance. I don't know that it's just a mention in my opinion. I don't think there's anything there. Just figured I'd cut off the comment saying you forgot this. No, I didn't. All right. Next mention. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth mention. Page 94. Top. Talking about tripping and falling. That never happens to him. Already talked about that. Then, when I started to push myself up, I came nose to nose with a rude aluminum grave marker. How strange and out of place it seemed. And then the whole rest of the page talks about, I could barely read the dirty nameplate, but did make out the name of a French soldier. Then suddenly we saw more grave markers. But I had tripped over a crudely made stone grave marker that had fallen face down in the grass. I know the chest is bronze, not stone or aluminum. Then I go back to where I said I took care to replace the stone marker as it had fallen, smooth the grass to hide it over. I guess what he tripped over, the stone marker, he came face to face with an aluminum grave marker. It's not the one he tripped over, but he tripped over a stone grave marker. Why would there be a stone grave marker and an aluminum grave marker? And then he says he took care to replace the stone marker as it had fallen. Is that a blaze? Maybe the blaze is a stone marker. I just thought of that. If he tripped over a stone marker, he didn't say he knocked it down earlier. I tripped over something and fell flat on my face. This is totally off the cuff on the fly right now. I'm trying to figure this out. I tripped over something and fell flat on my face. That never happens to me. Then, when I started to push myself up, I came nose to nose with a rude aluminum grave marker. How strange and out of place it seemed. Yada, yada, yada. But I had tripped over a crudely made stone grave marker that had fallen face down. Okay, so he does say that it had fallen face down in the grass. Well, it had already fallen face down. I don't think so he didn't knock it over. He was just taking the time to replace the stone marker. But it says as it had fallen. So, I don't know. But he smooths the grass to hide it over. The promise that place had made to me had been kept, and mine to it as well. I think that's interesting. I don't know. Lots of mentions of grave markers there. It's really interesting. I think it has something to do with the grass being just dropped behind a tree, beneath a tree, in the grass. I really don't think that the treasure chest is buried or concealed in anything more than nature. I think that's the purity and simplicity of this chase, is that Forrest he just put it out there in a place, and we're all looking in these crazy spots, and we're going to be surprised because it's just been there the whole time for 10 years. I just put it there. And then he's going to be like, aren't I a maverick? And we're going to be like, Forrest Fenn. So witty. I know you got better grades than D's, Forrest. I know you did. You may not like school, but I know you did better than you say you did. All right, last mention, and then I'll end because I know we're getting long. Tea with Olga, the entire chapter, page 115 in my book. Tea with Olga, the chapter. I know it's been talked about a million times. The Oreos, the colors of the tea, yada 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 yada. But the whole chapter is about her battle with cancer, dying, him getting that stuff, but then spreading her ashes on top of Taos Mountain to be reunited with her father. He says, Olga was at peace at last, and I suspected she may be having green tea with her father. Time had taken them apart, but it eventually brought them back together. I don't know, I think there's more there. I have tons more themes. So many of these are interconnected, interwoven. I don't know what you guys are thinking, what you ladies are thinking, but let me know. I'd love to hear any ideas you guys have. Like I say on most videos, if you think I'm out in left field, if you think I'm out in right field, if you think I'm hitting a home run, if you think I'm striking out, let me know. I think it's great. It's great fun. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, do whatever you need to do. Don't. And I'll catch you on the next episode. of the House Husband Diaries.